Welcome to today's episode of me reviewing highlights. This is where I review highlights from different books or articles or just generally different resources that I collect over the over my reading. So let's get started. The first one today is from the Earned Life. Discipline supplies the power to say yes every day to doing the hard stuff. Willpower provides the determination to say no to the bad stuff. We admire often to the point of amazement anyone who displays these two virtues to accomplish something difficult or extraordinary. If you think about it, these are the two things that matter, right? Discipline and willpower. Because together they are, there's no other word. I think they're unstoppable. If you have the discipline to do what's required every day, do something new or do something important every day, and keep moving the needle, and willpower to say something, to say no when you have to say no. I think, yeah, that is what that's an unstoppable combination. And anybody who demonstrates these two, they are subject of our admiration. So it's yeah, I think it sometimes, like the most complicated stuff we think about, it just boils down to the simple, not easy. I've talked about the distinction between simple and easy before. It's not really that complicated. Simplicity is often hard. It's not easy. Simple and easy are uh, essentially, I think we can say that they're antonyms. So let's move on. What happened? Let's move on. Yep. To the second one, again, earn life. It's not impossible to achieve success on your own to the point where it could be easy, where it could be accurately described as self made. The most salient question is, why would you want to when you could surely achieve a better result by enlisting people's help along the way? And earn life is not more earned or glorious or gratifying or even more likely because you tried to achieve it all by yourself. This notion, this attraction that people have towards self-made whatever, self-made people, self-made man, self-made millionaire, self-made success, it's counterproductive. There is no point to it. If you think about it, there's no point to it. First of all, it is very very hard to argue that something can really be self-made. There is it's we have seen time and time again that things that we have been, people that for whom we have been calling self-made, they actually had a lot of support, or a lot of the starting capital, in a way to say, like not capital just in terms of money, but capital in terms of influence or privilege. They've always had that. So that's one thing. But even if that was not- that even if that was actually possible, something being self-made, why would you want that? What's the point? And that's what this highlight shows. What's the point of being self-made when you can actually do a lot more if you're working together with people to achieve something together? And it's it's not like what I'm trying to say over here is that this is something that would have made a lot of difference in my life few years back. But like right now, it's just an testimony to the fact that like the learnings that I've had over the past few years in terms of the effort of the team, or the power of the team, or power of a group of people who come together. That recognition, it's just a testimony to that now. But a few years back, if I had read this would have been a completely uh, uh, what's the word, like a game changer kind of thing for me. So let's move on. A mind for numbers. Attempting to recall the material you're trying to learn, retrieval practice, is far more effective than simply rereading the material. Simple enough. And I've said this before, that the reason I do these videos is precisely for this reason, because what I'm trying to do while reading these videos is not just reading the quote that's on the screen here, but I'm also trying to provide the context. I'm trying to think back to where this appears in the book, and in most cases I do succeed, right? In some cases I forget where the context is, but in most cases I do succeed in remembering where the context is. And that's the point. That's the reason I do these videos, because this is first and foremost helpful to me to recall what I have read, and also to identify patterns, because it is, well, it's not very strange if you think about it, but it is funny that how different books of, like, completely different subjects, uh, they they're talking about the same thing, really. So this exercise helps me find the patterns. So yeah, a funny example, the book that we just looked at earlier, The Earned Life. That's that's a very metaphysical book, I would say, right? It's all about the concept of earning your life or living a full life, or it's like it's that kind of a notion. And in fact, I think a lot of ideas in that book remind me of the ideas from another book called The Molecule of Mo, which is all about brain chemistry. It's about neuroscience, neuropsychology, and everything. It's mainly about dopamine. The molecule of Mo refers to dopamine, and it is strange, but whatever I read in The Earned Life mostly reminds me of what I read in the book Molecule of Mo. So, two very different perspectives of looking at the same thing, I would say. And that's another reason, that's what these highlights give me. Moving on, get it done. When we prioritize a focal goal much more than the others, we often prefer activities or products that are unifinal, serving only this one goal. And because unifinal means feel good, pursuing them is like achieving the goal itself. They're even more desirable. When you engage in a highly instrumental unifinal means, you're intrinsically motivated. It feels right, and you just can't think of a better way of doing it. So there are two types of goals in the, in this, shall I say, highly scientific speak. That unifinal and the other one, multifinal or something like that. But I can't really think of the contrasting, like the contrasting point that the author makes about the multifinal goals over here. So I think it's best I skip this. Let's move on to Mind for Numbers. Emotions that goad you by saying, just do it, it feels right, can be misleading in other ways. In choosing your career, for example, follow your passion may be like deciding to marry your favorite movie star. So there is always a balance required, between passion, between rationality, and this impulse move of just do it, it feels right, or think about it, take your time, think about it. So this analogy is really funny to me. For example, follow your passion, maybe like deciding to marry your favorite movie star. And this also reminds me of all the different books I've read about the dangers of following passion for the sake of following your passion. Uh, I think what was that book? Yeah, So Good They Can't Ignore You. I think that really goes in depth in about this passion, the problems that this passion focused culture creates today. I won't go more into that right now, but let's move on. Oops, I think I skipped one. Yeah, kill it with fire. Shipping new code gets attention, while technical debt accrues silently and without fanfare. It's not the age of a system that causes it to fail, but the pressure of what the organization has forgotten about it slowly building towards an explosion. I think this highlight is really explaining the reason why technical debt is dangerous. Just yesterday we discussed that legacy technology is not bad. What's bad about a piece of legacy technology is that we have forgotten what was the context that was relevant when we built the old piece of technology, and a lot of decisions that went into it and everything. In fact, the book goes a lot into depth about refactoring as well, where people are attracted towards rewrites and rewrites mainly, not refactors. Where the people are, excuse me, people are attracted towards rewrites because they've forgotten all the technical challenges, the context that they have that were involved in making the software. There is an assumption that because the software already exists, all the requirements are completely understood, and that's not the case. So Rewriting is not a technical challenge, it's a process challenge. Similarly, this technical debt, this it accrues side, the what this highlight makes, the point that this highlight makes. It's not the age of a system that causes it to fail. It's not, again, it's not like a technical thing that the age causes it to fail, but the process issue, that the requirements around those technical debt has been forgotten, and that builds toward an explosion, because technical debt in itself, it's a technical problem. It is the technical problem, but because the requirements are forgotten, and because if they're going to be handled later, possibly nobody remembers what was the reasoning behind this, that leads towards an explosion. So yeah, let's move on. The molecule of more, we just mentioned this. An analogy pulls out the abstract, unseen essence of a concept and matches it with the similar essence of an apparently unrelated concept. The body senses perceive two different things, but reason understands how they are the same. Pairing a brand new idea with an old familiar one makes the new idea easier to understand. We just talked about different analogies, right? And I think this is just explaining how analogies work. So, like I said, it's a funny thing that these happens. I think the point is pretty clear over here. It just explains how analogies work on our brain level. It's like it says, and it explains one concept using a completely different concept, but our reasoning says that they're somehow related, and that makes the new idea easier to understand. That's why analogies are helpful. Analogies are one of the best tools for learning because of this. Because of the that relation between like an familiar idea and a brand new idea. The familiarity between that, it makes it easier for your brain to process. Our brains to process. My brain is not different. Kill it with fire again. You have to be comfortable with the unknown. You can do that by emphasizing resilience over reliability. Reliability is important, but too many organizations use reliability to aim for perfection, which is the exact opposite of what they should be trying to accomplish. I think it is pretty clear, the difference between reliability and resilience, and like the point that this highlight makes about reliability is important, but like how organizations kind of use this reliability to go towards perfection. But why is it the exact opposite of what they should be doing? The book goes into that in explaining that sometimes it's better in all aspects, in building trust with the users and everything. It's better to have systems that fail and which can be easily recovered. So failure and easily recovered. So, in trying to aim for a perfect system which actually slows down everything, it's a pretty impossible. We have to accept the fact that perfect systems are not possible. So in trying to achieve that, we give up a lot of things. Instead, if you focus on resilience rather than reliability, and resilience talks about how quickly we can get back from the issue, that actually builds more trust than a system that never fails. The book goes in a lot in depth about this. So maybe another highlight that comes up about this, or read the book. As a reminder, all the links to these books are in the description. Getting things done. Your best thoughts about work won't happen while you're at work. Yeah, it's just a short snippet which I highlighted. And we see this all the time. Like you're taking a walk, or you're at home doing something else, and you get an idea that's completely relevant. So the author is like using this in context of talking about how can you integrate your system so that you're able to work with your thoughts, with your ideas wherever you are. Basically process them. Moving on to everyday chaos. If we think out in the world with tools, and if our use of those tools shows us what sort of place the world is, and if our new tools are substantially different from the old ones, then perhaps we are beginning to understand our world differently. The author is trying to make a point over here that this new age of AI and everything, and this book is somewhat old. I mean, it's not very old, but today with this generative AI, Chat GPT, and everything, it's like it feels like the world is entirely different. But this book is like I've said this before. This book is somewhat philosophical as well, and the author is making this connection that we really, when we interact with our worlds, we usually interact with the world in with our tools. So that's the means with which we understand the world. It's not as simple as, okay, we're just using tools. Our use of tools makes them a part of us. And there are many other contexts that we have talked about this also. But in this context, that because we're using our tools, they kind of become our part of understanding of this world. And if these tools change, the world appears very differently to us. So it's a philosophical note, like I said before. And with that, I think we're at the end of our highlights today. Thank you for watching. As usual, it's a little longer, but I think I had a lot of fun with the highlights today. There was a lot of discussion, and I think all the highlights were pretty good today. So I had fun. I hope you had fun as well, and have a good day.